Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? Today, we're going to talk about boundaries, where we get too close or we're so distant. And we're going to talk about how they function and why they've been given to us and how to recognize your own boundary space. Okay. So, boundaries are this sense of self. And when we are let's talk we'll talk about the present and then we'll go back into the past. So boundaries help me know where I begin and you end. What is your business and what is my business? What is your emotion and what is my emotion? What are your thoughts and what are my thoughts? And your finances, my finances, your sexuality, my sexuality, my understanding of God and your understanding of God. A sense of will, like I can choose to do something or not do something. Where there's broken boundaries or dysfunctional boundaries, I really don't know where I begin and you end. And so I'm so attached to you that I might feel your feelings for you. I might tell you how to think, tell you how to be, have an opinion that I would just give you because I see it as a gift. Of course, you want my opinion, right? Not really seeing you as separate is the problem. Not seeing that you have your own opinions, your own ideas, your own choices. Lack of boundaries, I may feel like responsible for your behavior. Feel that if I had just acted or behaved in a different way, then your behavior may be different, rather than accept that, no, you made your own choices and I have my choices and I can influence you a bit, but I'm not really responsible for what you did. Boundaries help like countries stay um, defined, like where is Canada and where is the US. And we did a video from Kansas City, Missouri, and talked about boundaries there. If I don't know where I am and what rules are there for me, or if I'm a little country, I have to fund my own self. I have to stay within my boundaries versus meddle in other people's boundaries or in their land, telling them what to do, how to think. We would call that an invasion, actually. We would see it as I have a better way, and so I want you to do it my way. We have a video on step 3, and there's a sense that the director who wants to run the whole show is trying to control people, and because they don't really see people as separate. There is this age-old question as to why is there evil in the world. My thought is that, and this is just my thought, is that evil in the world is because God's not codependent. He's not controlling. He's not manipulative. He's not going to stop people from doing what people want to do. They either want to connect with him or they don't want to connect with him. And he may try to influence or contribute to us wanting to be near him. But he's not going to step over the boundary and usurp our will. To do so would be not loving, and there would be no choice involved. And if that were the case, then why is there so much evil in the world? Like, how can a good God let such evil be there if he could just change everybody's mind and make everybody work together in harmony and unity and we wouldn't have any problems? That's not the way the world is. Yeah, that's my experience. Let's look at groups of people that seem to have trouble with boundaries, religions that want to convert by the sword, that cannot tolerate the thought that someone has a different religious viewpoint than their own, or political groups that can't tolerate someone having another political opinion than their own. Yeah, you can see that that there are media people that are agitating this kind of issue by trying to influence us to believe certain ways by convincing us with their arguments. And either we just buy into it wholeheartedly, and then we're probably lacking boundaries, that we're having downloaded to us all their vitriol and negative energy, and then we go around feeling miserable. Or they're trying, fear mongers, trying to get us more and more frightened. Boundaries helps me stay grounded and say, stop. Erik, what do you want for your life? What kind of person do you want to be? Who do you want to influence you? What's wonderful in this life, I get to choose how I'm influenced. I may be powerless over lots of things, but I have a lot of choice. In fact, I could say no to God, stiff arm him, and say, I don't want anything to do with you. And I don't think it's power, but I could stop him from doing that. Or I can invite him in and say, God, come, help me, be with me in this moment, guide me, give me the power I need, and tell me what you even want me to do. Free me from the things that hold me back. So surrender is allowing that power greater than ourselves, God, to come into our land and begin to be the leader. So let's look at some things here. Types of boundaries on the red, unhealthy, unmeshed. Okay, I think I'm going to enlarge this so that you can see. So in this side, there's really a lack of boundaries. It's usually characterized by smothering, stifling hot, no privacy, a sense of chaotic, no boundaries, and afraid to hurt each other. And you have arrows where it's almost a chase scene, that one person is chasing the other because one person's trying to get space and not be controlled. And the more that they move away, this happens in marriages, the more that person wants to I'm sorry, I got distracted here, because I feel like I have two legs here, just as though it's two people of the same gender. But if you can think any kind of relationship, okay? Sorry about that. Typically, I've done one with the dress, and I don't want to get totally political here, but just generally speaking, this can happen in any relationship. But back on track, when I'm chasing someone with my new plan, my good ideas, people are going to back away. Some of us might have felt like this during the pandemic, that the government had a plan for our life. Yeah, no boundaries. They're going to tell us what to do with our health. No privacy. There's something chaotic. Okay. Let's go to the other extreme. Unhealthily distant. The relationship is too cool. Secrets. There's things you don't even know about them. It tends to be stagnant, like a pond that's no movement to it, and walls. And there's usually not too much empathy there because we're really not feeling the other person's feelings at all. We're feeling kind of our own, or not feeling at all. We may be on drugs and alcohol or some kind of substance. In the middle, and we signify this by these bubble-like cell membrane, and these are like doors that help us open things up when we want to be open or close things when we want things closed. It's kind of like a drawbridge that my son was sharing that the other day. I thought that was pretty cool. That you have a moat around the castle that helps us define this is the castle. You're not allowed in. And I can put down the drawbridge if I want people to come in, but I can also close it up saying, no, you're not allowed. The more boundary we have, and I don't mean walls, but the more boundary, a sense of Erik or the sense of his wife or friend or other people, the more warmth there is in the relationship. Now, why would that be? Because we're actually honoring each other's separateness. We understand that everybody's going to think different and have different value system. We may have a lot of things in common, a lot of values together, but they would be her value or my value, but not like my value that's kind of superimposed into her space. It's a more stable relationship because of healthy boundaries. And there's appropriate empathy that I can feel a little bit about what the person is going through. But I'm not sucked into it. Okay, let's go back to some of the dynamics, the deeper dynamics here with the unhealthy enmeshed. We're afraid to hurt each other's feelings. We're walking on eggshells. No sense of self. Engulfed in a relationship. And often we have another video, or there's lots of great videos on the abuse triangle. This I use a lot, but with abuser, victim, and rescuer, often there's boundaries being crossed. The abuser crosses boundaries by either physical violence, hurting. The sexual offender is hurting someone sexually without their consent. There's no sense of self. The victim doesn't have the boundaries and to be able to say no, and I'm not victim blaming, I'm just saying that they can't say no as a child or even as an adult. That's why, say like on a political level, if people don't stand up and say no, absolutely no, then we end up becoming victims. But if we stand up and say, no, this is not right, I'm not complying in a healthy sense, then we're acting as individuated people. And rescuer is where the person wants to rescue us from our own life, again, crossing boundaries. And even if it was the government to rescue us from ourselves, bailouts and stuff like that, no, that keeps us in a victim role. The other extreme here with unhealthy distance, where there's walls, not much empathy, and no sense of relationship. Like you could even question, is this a relationship? Isolation, abandonment, you are on your own. And there is this sense that I'm living with someone, but there's not enough connection. And as much as it may look like I'm challenging government, I challenge government where it's too much. But certainly, if you go to where there's no government, I think this would be important to take a detour here. If we got rid of all government, okay, then we're not working as a community. Everybody is just taking care of themselves. They're growing their own vegetables. Well, where are they going to get those vegetables? Seeds. Well, they have to get them from a store. So at the basic level, there seems to be some kind of government involved, even from a grocery store, and some kind of rules involved, like traveling on the dirt highway, say like it was dirt. So government isn't necessarily bad. It's just how much do you want? Otherwise, there's no rules and there's no working together. So it's really about balance here. I tend to think that it works, this is my experience, it works a little bit better if people stick with government that's more local, okay? So that we're not on our own, that we can work together. Um, Deeper sense of healthy boundaries has a sense of self and an identity while also having a sense of relationship. Each owns their own problems, offers help, and accepts the other's no. If a person says, nope, I don't want help, then they accept that. Nope, I don't want a sexual experience, then they accept that. Nope, I don't want to go to college to be an electrical engineer or some kind of engineer dad. That's saying no. So it's really important to be able to say no. No, I don't want to marry you. No, I don't want a relationship. No is a very important word. Why is it so hard to say? It may be hard to say if we struggle with boundaries. That's what I believe, is that if I really don't know where I begin and the other person ends, then I'm going to have a hard time saying no. So go out there and discover your boundaries. Think about these things. If you want, here, I'm telling you what to do. That's crossing a boundary. Commands often or crossing of boundaries. In fact, let's talk a little bit about, before we end, healthy crossing of. Boy, something happened there. If I've fallen into a river and I've hit my head on a rock, or I'm yelling for help, 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 and someone comes and rescues me and grabs me and saves my life, that's a welcomed boundary crossing. If the medics have to tear off, my shirt and get heart monitor or whatever, or give me mouth to mouth, that's a crossing of a boundary. But technically, I'm saying, yes, help me, help me. Okay. A lot of times, what looks to be a crossing of a boundary isn't really a crossing of a boundary because it all boils on consent. If I say to an accountant, please help me with my finances, help me with my taxes, I'm willingly turning over my personal uh, information to them for them to do that. If I go to a professional therapist, it's a given that I'm asking them for advice. I want guidance. I want some kind of emotional support. If I, trying to think of other aspects where it's really important. Well, let's flip to the other side. If I speak for my wife, I decide, hey, she'll go to the party, crossing of a boundary. I say, I'm not sure what she wants, but I'll ask her. If I try to pressure her to go, that would be pushing on her boundaries. If I try to help her with, this is theoretical, but with better food choices, that would be crossing of boundaries. Um, Telling someone how to drive while the other person's behind the wheel is crossing over a boundary. Who's driving? You might be frightened in that seat, but your choice, and the passenger seat, well, your choice is to not ride with that person. You can ask them, could you drive differently? And they can choose to do so or not. But if they go, no, I want to drive how I'm driving, it's not going to work to have them constantly be told how to drive. Okay. All forms of physical violence, rape, emotional abuse, telling people how to believe telling people things as though you know is crossing of boundaries. In a sense, crossing of boundaries is like one person sticking their hand in a fire and the other person feeling the pain. And this person says, please get your hand out of the fire. And this person goes, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, they may be high on their drug of choice or behavior of choice. So then this person's feeling the pain because of the lack of boundaries between them. In fact, you could kind of go like this. So then this person's motivated to try to say, please stop using, it's hurting us. And the person goes, what are you yapping about? So when the person begins to detach and don't even think about changing them, DETACH, don't even think about changing him or her. The person starts to feel the pain and now is motivated to pull their own hand out of the fire. So be aware of when you're feeling more conscious than that other person or feeling more pain about what they're doing, you might actually be helping them not be aware of what their problems are. Okay. Well, you have a great day of recovery, and we'll see you later. Take care.